Hey everyone, thank you so much for your patience. Had a few technical delays going on tonight, but you all in the chat are awesome, and we are coming at you live now, talking about Westworld's final episode for season 4. Será, Será. Joining me tonight, the man, the myth, the legend from Enchantment of Eternity, the man himself, Marc.
Hey everyone, how's everyone going? Good to see you. Thanks, Darren. Thanks for indulging me with my computer. Decided to update for half an hour right when I was supposed to come on. And you also might notice that I'm in a different but familiar background because I'm actually at my sister Alyssa's house at the moment, although she's not home. But yeah, so I got her background. I hijacked it. It's mine now.
Perfect, excellent. And as mentioned at the top, we've got some awesome people already keeping the chat active. Woodrow Wilson, I keep saying Woodrow Wilson in my head every time I see it, but it's just Woodrow. Stinger B Company as well. Ramona Floyd jumping in there, fangirling and loving it. We've got some stuff to talk tonight. So awesome little chat going on there. So let's kind of jump into to everything here. Marc, I haven't had a chance to look over at your review over on your channel, Enchantment of Eternity. Check it out right here on YouTube, folks. But what did you think about this week's episode? A lot of stuff to cover, a lot of moving parts.
Well,
How did you think they did with that?
Well, you hadn't had a chance to check out my review because I haven't made it yet.
Ah,
I'm
well,
waiting
that
till I get
explains
back.
it.
My thoughts here will be the first time you get my thoughts on this episode because I'm going to wait till I get back to East Coast to record my review. But anyway, I got to be honest, I was a little disappointed. Like, I felt like there wasn't any resolution. There was a lot of things setting up, such as, oh, Maeve's this big super weapon. Oh, C's the one who's going to save the world. Yet none of that happened. So I felt like, and at first I was just like confused. What the hell happened? And I think watching and talking it out, I think I got a bigger grasp of it. To me, this is not the ending that I was hoping for this season. Didn't think it sucked. I still liked it. Still intriguing. Still a lot of great stuff in this episode. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a victim of my own expectations. I was hoping for something more definitive.
No, I don't think you could be accused of that because I, like many of others, also felt a little lost at the end of this show. Um, Come on, it's an ABC reference, folks. You know the show I'm talking about. Maybe you could say Game of Thrones season 7. We even were about to bring up a little Mr. Robot here in the chat, and I hope they don't go full. I hope they don't go a full Mr. Robot. That's all I'm going to say right here. But yes, there were a lot of very interesting ideas. There were a lot of things that were brought up this season, and especially the way that last week's episode ended with so many character deaths and so many things still kind of left up in the air. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a certain level of expectation on the finale, especially where they were going, that certain things had to be kind of wrapped up or at least threaded properly into wherever they're going next. And I really think they dropped the pearl on this one, if we're going to stay with some show analogy. I think the whole idea of Charlotte's transcendence or what their world or evolution, we never got into this. There was never an idea of what she was talking about. We have no idea of the larger world. So when they're talking about these consequences and things happening, it's very difficult to put stuff into place. And ultimately I feel that they kind of took away a lot of human agency by the end of this episode because they kind of put it all in Dolores's hands. I mean, Bernard ends the episode with like in this little speech carryover that look, they're all going to die. Some may hold on for a few weeks, some for a few years, but ultimately everyone dies. What we're hoping is a new world for tomorrow, the next world. And it's like, and what? That's just whatever Dolores is going to imagine. How does she affect there's so much unknown by the way they leave it. It's like, yeah, everybody else's story is kind of done, but Dolores will figure it all out in the end. And it's a deus ex machina
Mhm.
of a layer. It's like, man, I feel like you had some ideas, but you didn't care about how it actually fit and worked around. When you had a smaller Westworld and those ideas were contained, it made sense. Blowing up into the larger world, you just had a lot of variables, and I think there were a lot of answers this season that never came to put everything in. It sort of started to lose its context of where everything kind of placed itself in the world and what the actual stories and stakes were that they were talking about. So yeah, I was a little disappointed with the way that with the way that it went. And I'm
Yeah, I
hoping
will.
it gets renewed for five.
So I'll say that Roger in the chat sums up my thoughts pretty well. That Better Call Saul finale was leaps and bounds better than the Westworld finale. Oh my goodness, I'm still in awe. Westworld, meh. I agree. Like it's hard, like seeing because I saw them, I watched them both like back to back pretty much, and the Better Call Saul is like one of the best series finales. Like tied everything up perfectly. This one was just like it didn't seem to tie up everything well. It didn't seem to like fit. Like the whole Christina reveal is like I'm sure they were planning that from the beginning, but it doesn't seem like it. Like it doesn't really fit to
Well,
me.
well, yeah, because it doesn't. Nothing she does interacts with everything. I mean, I guess the moment in which she was like, "Everyone be free," and went away, and that kind of opened up the security rooms so that Stubbs and them can walk through. But like, really, outside of that, nothing that she did. And then when you find out that all of it was like, well, she made it all herself because it was inner self trying to tell her outer self who her inner self truly was, and it's like, again, conceptually, there's something there, but that everything is then put into her hands at the end is like, and in the sublime. Okay, great. What the hell's that going to? You make a simulate? I don't.
All right, so one thing I heard, one theory I heard is that Dolores like was uploaded to Rehoboam Room, so she downloaded like all the information of all the people everywhere and everything, and so that now she's gonna recreate that all the people and everywhere and everything, and this will be like the new world or whatever. Um, I don't know, like that. I don't
It's
know.
still a simulation. It's a game.
Yeah.
We even say it. Time for one more game, a test. That's
Yeah.
so. Well, let's kind of walk through the episode a little bit. I know that doing only
Well,
because, yeah.
can I ask you a really big question?
Ooh, yeah. Please do.
Do you think that Westworld's jumped the shark with this episode?
Um, I think it very well might have.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard to tell because if they can pick things up again in five and go in a good direction to really wrap the show up, they may make it work.
Yeah. But if
But
yeah, if SOT 5 doesn't get picked up and the show gets canceled now, this would be a really bad ending.
yeah, and I've heard something with Joy was Joy Lisa Joy, one of the producers, was doing an interview talking about how things were ended and where they were planning to go. And she did say, it says, so if we're able to tell that tale, that will be great. Or if this ends up being the end, I think that we've left people with a good, solid, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. If
Because
that's the
well,
case, then this, yeah, I
yeah,
don't.
the fear is that the new head of HBO Max has gone around canceling everything.
Sure.
So
And that may entirely be the case. And again, if that happens, that's fine. But my expectation would be you should have. They knew from before four starting that five was probably going to be their final season, that was going
yeah,
to
they
be their,
always plan for 5. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that was their planned arc. So that's what I'm saying is if this is where you're leaving to go into the next, yeah. Sorry, who mentioned here in the chat, Ramona. I think they should have put a wrap on it because William is finally dead. Yeah, when you kill off a certain level of characters, it kind of
Well, all right. So I
yeah.
think the idea is that everyone's dead, and
Right.
everyone's going to be recreated in this new version that Dolores is going to recreate. Basically, going back to season one,
Sure.
and she's going to recreate everyone in this new reality taking place in the Sublime. Um, I don't know. Like I said, maybe
For the
they can
next 100 years until those turbines go out, they said 100 years without maintenance. Who's going to send them out? That was the other thing. They'd throw out the idea of like you can leave the Sublime, but you don't have a body. You're still just a digital self. You've got to put yourself into something. I don't. Like I said, there's just a lot of questions with
Well,
this.
yeah, one thing I'll say, it is a shame that my sister Alyssa couldn't make it tonight because she's way more positive on this finale than we are.
Well, look, I don't want to get. I guess the thing is it's to me it's how it wraps, not necessarily the journey there, because I was enjoying the journey and I was there on the edge of my seat through every step, and I was enjoying the moments, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have this, and Hale's doing that, and we're going to have a stand up with the Man in Black. It's just these moments that were end up to be powerful with the way everything left out. Um, I mean, look, maybe I'm stunned because you killed Stubbs. Okay. Maybe I'm just upset. I was hoping he was going to be spared. And I love seeing, oh God, what's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. The girl who killed her.
Oh, Clementine.
Clementine. Think I'm like, the C word. Sorry. Colleen. No. Claudette. No. Yeah. And I love seeing Clementine come in. I guess I was just upset they ended up killing Stubbs. But even that, you have the nice father daughter, kind of goodbye there, but it was never going to go anywhere else. I mean, in a way, that whole side adventure ended up being pointless outside of them just getting a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah, well,
And you killed Stubbs.
that's my major issue with this whole finale. None of it seems to justify what came before. It seemed all to not make any difference whatsoever. Like, what's the big deal of getting C into New York, where all she does is have a teary farewell with their dad, and then the fucks off, and apparently they're all going to die in a few years anyway. And why are they making such a big deal about getting May from the desert and burying her? Oh, she's this huge weapon, and she just fights Charlotte and then dies. Like,
distracts her from going into the Sublime, and that's it. Yeah,
that seems so pointless. Yeah.
I mean, and again, that's it. It's like ultimately everybody did this so that Bernard could get a message to Hale being rebuilt after being shot in the head with the whole like bullet to the pearl will kill you, but I guess not. It just takes a little laser bit fix and then you're done. Which was so like even the sacrifice, you go, oh no, we can fix that. And now she's suddenly turned and ready to fight. And then at the end, the whole sacrifice thing, I get she sees something beautiful and wants to realize that that's the end. Or was she infected also by the outliers and decided to kill herself? Or like, even that whole bit was, again, this is a beautiful thing. The visual you have, even of the idea of, look, I can appreciate the beauty and I'll die on that. That's great. I just don't get it for Hale. I don't.
Yeah, that whole ending with Hale sort of crushing her own thing, that for some reason visually that reminded me a lot of Prometheus, with the the what they call those big white alien dudes who just like
engineers.
Yeah. And it's not a good thing to be reminded of Prometheus, I will say.
Catmandu. They killed Stubbs because he's supporting character, and since Bernard is dead now, there's no point in keeping Stubbs alive. Poor guy didn't even get his tuna sandwich.
I will say, and I think I mentioned this before with you, that I'm not a fan of Stubbs, so
sure,
it didn't really bother me.
No, It's fangirling and loving it, and that's it. We're the big Stubbs fans right here. Only Catman apparently. But yeah, I mean, now I love the idea. I mean, and I get this. It's like, okay, well, Bernard had to open up the Sublime so that Hale could put Dolores in because she didn't have the code, only he had the code.
Oh,
And
right, right.
and it was a great thing for, or a great bait for
William.
William,
Yeah.
because then he could take out all the hosts, and all he had to do was, like, again, turn off the dam. Power goes out, no more Sublime.
Yeah, I mean, the counter argument to, and I've heard this counter argument, and it makes sense, but I still, that's not good enough to me. To what I said about, setting up Maeve to be a weapon and setting up C to be the savior of humanity.
Yeah,
That Bernard was just saying that shit to get things to where they needed to get.
sure.
Which is, and so he was kind of just lying when he said those things. But to me, narratively speaking, as a TV show, that's a letdown. That's uninteresting. That he's just saying that shit just to get this other shit in motion, has nothing to do with it. Like, that's, I don't know. That leaves me really unsatisfied.
No, when you as the audience have to make up a reason why this is all going to fit, then there is a certain failure in the storytelling, you know. Um, but like I said, I mean, there's some beautiful bits. I mean, look, I got to mention it because it was brought up in the chat before we ended up starting. The whole opening scene where you had the terrors on the street as everyone killing, and host killing humans and humans killing other humans, and William hunting everyone down, was awesome. Mainly because we got Stephen Ogg back for a quick scene, who's of course one of the big cowboys in Westworld in seasons 1 and 2, and of course Simon in Walking Dead. I love seeing him whenever he
Yeah.
pops up. Uh, and he was a fun, though you mowed for the moment where he was like, "I've done this for years," and I'm like, "Oh, he's dead. He's gonna be dead before he finishes this sentence." And I can't. But yeah, they did a great little awesome bit of, like, he gets killed and then she runs off and then this other person gets killed and then they follow each one back until you've got William going through and mowing them down, which was cool. Except also I was immediately going like, there are still hosts out. I thought they all transitioned, or why are they? Again, this is part of the what's the larger world that I'm not understanding to be able to
Yeah,
put
there.
everyone in
So
context.
in this episode, they mentioned, like, Hale mentions that, like, all the cities in the whole world. So it does imply like there's more cities and there's more people out there than just this one city. But it's all apparently going crashing down. They're all going mad, not just this
Sure.
one. Which, I don't know. Again, that is very vague. I agree that they could have done a better job at sort of explaining what the hell is actually going on in the greater world.
Right. It's just, again, they never gave us a context, so we can't make leaps within the bounds that we've come to understand. If they had done something, then I think it would probably be easier for us to kind of go, oh, this is happening, this makes sense. But I don't know what the larger world is like, even to the point of Hale being so upset with William about sending out the tone, survival of the fittest. You've killed them all. That was her plan, right? She talked about putting them in cold storage. What were the humans? What was her plans for the humans anyway?
Well, so we don't know what cold storage means. That may not necessarily mean killing. Maybe she'd put them in those weird thingies that the real William was in. I
Okay,
think Williams' crazy tone wasn't just affecting humans. I think it was also like the hosts were all like getting caught up and all killing each other as well. Like they were getting caught up and everything. And I think they mentioned that in this episode, so that it wasn't just the humans that were dying. Like all the hosts were going to die.
sure. I know they were having everyone fight for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely clear on that, but I was just. I mean, again, this is like what was Hale's goal then? That's why I don't understand where her upset or what the problem. I don't even know how William has changed what she wanted to do.
Well, they never really explain what the hell this transcending is. Like, it's different than the Sublime. They made that clear because she didn't have access to the Sublime. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like they were just putting themselves into robot bodies instead of human bodies. If that's what
Yeah,
the transcending is, and I don't know. I still felt that was very unclear as well.
right. So, and now on the plus side, at least we know that potentially Bernard and Maeve can be easily resurrected in the real world because, again, bullet to the brain easily fixed with the little laser gun, like they did with Hale, because she was shot before she got her upgraded body, so it wasn't even an armored head, just a regular host head, um, which I guess is cool. And yet, I mean, that is the one thing. There is something that Bernard says in his message to Dolores. Um, that there's time for just one game, one more game, if you choose to play it. Now, how she understands what it is that he wants, having not communicated, been completely in her pearl, and then just plugged into the thing, I don't know, but I'll go with some magical transfer of knowledge from Bernard uh, uh, to Dolores, that there's just time for this because the Sublime moves so fast. And they said like 1,000 years, and the Sublime is 1 year in the real world. Perhaps they're trying to get Dolores to find a way to make it work so that they could come back to the real world before much of this time has actually passed. What is it, 1,000th of a year if they spend a year in Westworld, say, for instance, or whatever. Few hours, maybe, that then she could affect the real world. Because otherwise, what do we care about a digital world and a data storage in the Hoover Dam? However, the evolution is going to happen with that, it doesn't go anywhere. And it has nothing to do with any actual life. It's just even a sentient program. It's just, I guess that's where I'm trying to find a way of like, maybe this thing that Dolores is supposed to do can help fix the real world. Because otherwise, if we're just saying the real world dies, what is the point?
Yeah, and maybe that's something that season 5 could answer. Like maybe they could
Sure.
justify that. And maybe because one of the possibilities I can think of is that they recreate a lot of people and they somehow come back to physical forms in the real world from the Sublime.
Mm-hmm. And yes, Digger B. Bernard ran every option available in this world. He knows things, man. Yes. And so, yeah, in a way, you'd have to think that this all sort of comes in. I'm just saying is if people die and this is just rebuilding a new world, the
Yeah,
whole I'm just like, what is Dolores' simulation and the Sublime supposed to accomplish?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, that's something that maybe season 5 could address. But yeah, it's they left it too wide open, which I wish they really had.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
to me, the whole thing with Bernard's like, this is the only way that could happen. This is the only way to save the world. Kind of reeks of the whole like Infinity War thing of Doctor Strange saying he's looking at all these possibilities. There's only one outcome. Like, I don't buy it. Like, surely there's got to be more outcomes that could actually save the world. It's not just this one where Dolores has to go in and like, I don't know.
Humans
It
are
seems
extremely resilient creatures. I mean, come on, you could
exactly.
put us on a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific and we'd repopulate the planet. Just give
Yeah.
us some time, we'll figure it out. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it's just I don't know. Again, I know we're not diving into a whole bunch of specific scenes in our discussion today. I mean, there's a few here and there. I guess because again, there is the possibility that this is the end of the series if it doesn't get renewed. I don't know where Westworld is in their numbers or their internal logic or reviews
Well,
or anything like that.
so I haven't been following it exactly, but I've had heard this season has not done as well in the
Yeah.
ratings of previous seasons. Yeah.
And I would have no doubt that the show would be more than happy to do it. And just if you have an idea to do that, leaving so many things kind of up in the air. Uh, I don't know. Isn't my happiest. Now, did I like a lot of the cool things? Yeah. Did I like Hale going after William? Sure. And I like the fact that the gun we saw Bernard place, oh, this was for Dolores to or for Hale to use against
Yeah.
William. I just think the crushing of the pearls and the kind of losses, all of that, there was a lot of anticlimactic feel to it. And
Yes.
again, I think because last week's episode was kind of so much had happened.
Mm.
Well, I mean, a lot of it was to end up doing the coverage of Christina's story. Um, and I know they'd sort of teased that throughout the season. And it seems like they completely had to wrap that up so they could position it for wherever they were planning on
All
things
right.
going.
Can we full get into the Christina
Yeah,
storyline?
yeah.
Uh,
Let's get into that.
So we're led to believe that the her boss, her friend, and that guy who was acting crazy were all just figments of the imagination, and Teddy. So anyone she ever interacted with was just a figment of her imagination because she's not actually in the real world. She's in the model simulation of the tower that was controlling it.
Yeah.
Um, and that to me, that just does that's a bad reveal. Like that to me, that just doesn't fit with what we've seen. Now, as I said, I fully know that they were planning for this all along, but I
Right.
don't think they did a good job at it. Like, I think it's just too much. It's too much of a stretch in my mind, especially like because the friend was talking about how she's having dreams, nightmares about the insects coming. So that's a human who experienced the thing, and like the boss started like bossing her around and was controlling her every move. Why would she create like a different version of herself who was doing that? And then she was able to control her boss the same way she controlled a human, yet the boss was just a simulation. Like, yeah, to me, this is not good writing.
No, it ends up being very cheap because it's just at the end you're like, oh, it happened because we just needed it to. I mean, that is what happens with any story. You do have actual characters and things doing it, but the fact that none of it was real, it's all up. Well, it was just you trying to wake yourself up the whole time. It cheapens every. It's a justification for every interaction, but it makes everything cheap because nothing has any meaning. There is no other further drive outside of the self. Um, it starts to, it's solitaire is an exciting game when you have no one else to play with, but it's not good storytelling.
Yeah.
And now, on the one hand, my wife, for one, was totally got it. She was like, Teddy has never felt right this entire season. I don't
Mm.
like how Teddy has felt. I always suspected him. And this makes more sense because Teddy did speak a lot more like Dolores would speak, uh, which is where you could say, yeah, obviously they were planning this all from the beginning. It wasn't just at the end they went, okay, we got to wrap this up. Let's just make it all like this. But that does make how it feels. It's like the fact that nothing was interactive, even if it does. It's like why. And also, we have no idea where this version of Dolores came from. Is this the one that uploaded to Rehoboam that was picked up and then its mind was wiped and put into here? Or was it a
Yeah.
larger? Was it a new generation? Was it a fifth pearl? Was it the one that was in what's his name, who we just saw at the end of season 4 and gave him the box and then disappeared? God, his name's leaving me. But there was one version of Dolores that was just out in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one is this? Where did this come from? Why would Hale keep it? What was it
See,
needed for?
I'm just like, and a lot of people are making this assumption. This is just an assumption. It's not based off of anything, but I'm just assuming that it's the same one in season 3.
Sure.
But we got nothing to base that on.
Right.
Like that's just like that scene that would make the most sense storytelling wise. But
Now it
and
was
that's
said
why,
at the end of 3 that everything was erased from there. You could say all the memories was, so this had the core of Dolores
yeah,
without,
and that's you could, yeah, and you could say that's why Christina didn't have any memories.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, it does sort of make sense, but it's like, okay, so But why? I mean, I can understand even Hale wanting to hold on to this, but why use it to make stories for your people? Why plug it into the system
Well,
at all, even if it's closed?
a possible theory I had about that, or I heard, I didn't have, but a possible theory I heard is that this, if that is the same Dolores in season 3, then it was uploaded to Rehoboam, so it would have all the information about every person everywhere and how they would react, and that's how it was able to run all the stories, and that's why Hale needed it, because it had that ability to run everything.
Sure. Okay. I mean, it's a good theory as much as any. Um,
Yeah, but yeah, they were too unclear about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I think, again, it's good for a story to have people asking questions. It's not good for a story to have people asking questions because they're confused,
Yeah.
or something just sort of got left up into the air. I mean, uh, yeah, the whole Frankie thing, that was, again, it was, now she of course heard Caleb call out over the radio, so knew that he was live, so couldn't have just been like, oh no, that's just a simulation, that's not really your dad, trust me, he's dead, you should just go and run out. I get why that would be the draw then for them to go in. I just, I don't know, I guess I had hoped that they had fixed the Delos problem with the 15
Yeah.
minutes, because for some copies they just like put a partial overlay and it's still Dolores's key. In fact, why not just do that? Why not just have a Caleb that's a Dolores that's just there for bait and then kills them all as they were escaping? That would have been good.
Now I wonder, and one thing I was wondering while I was watching this episode is where the hell does that season 2 post credit scene with William in the far future having a fidelity test with his daughter who's not really his daughter, like how the fuck does that fit into any of this?
Well, I
Like,
mean, potentially you could have that be a season 5 thing, because you still
yeah,
have the, I'm sure you might still have the digital in William information somewhere that you
yeah,
could just attempt to make another host with, um,
I
I guess.
suppose.
uh, but yeah, I mean, what was the point in rescuing Caleb if he remained in the city, and how was Caleb a trap? Well, Caleb was bait to pull them in, and then hopefully they were going to die, but that's the good question, Kathmandu. So what was the plan then for, how were they the bait? If, again, I would need to know what Hale's plan was after that, and we never got that. So
See,
again,
I mean, I suppose again this could be something they could fix in season 5 potentially, as to why Frankie needed to see her father, because she did get closure and she got to say goodbye and
yeah,
that sort of thing. But how does that fit into her saving the world, like Bernard said? Or was Bernard just bullshitting and she was never meant to save the world? Then what did she do that contributed to anything whatsoever? Like, I
nothing.
don't know. Her whole storyline seemed pointless to me.
The
And
whole
again,
thing was just to get May to be a distraction for uh, Hale to not upload herself, but so that she could be shot by William and then turned by Bernard's message to put Dolores back in the Sublime. That was the mission, I think. Is if that's the shortest version I can do of what the whole plan ended up being.
oh, okay. So Roberta Floyd and Tessa saved the outliers because I suppose they killed Clementine, who was going to kill all the outliers. So
Okay,
I guess that is one thing that she did, but I don't know.
okay,
Yeah.
that is something. Again, I was hoping Clementine would just go back out to her nice regular village life like she was living before William found her, and seemed to be enjoying herself. Um,
But and the other thing is, yeah, Stinger in the chat says there's seems enough outliers to repopulate the world. However, Bernard specifically said that they're all going to die off in a few years.
yeah, Again, that's where it's sort of left off. It's like, why say that? Because you could have not
Yeah.
said that, and we would have been like, okay, so people are going to try and live on their self. There might be a few hosts out there, and then Dolores is going to try and this. To me, that not saying that would have been better for the ending, because once they do that, they pretty much say like, it's all up to Dolores. Without her, we're all dead. It's like,
What?
it's
Why?
ridiculous.
Like,
Yeah, what is but and how does that finish the tale of Westworld? How is this finish a tale of what is consciousness and what is life and what is death and what is, these larger questions that the whole hosts sort of bring into the world, and they've pursued even with the Rehoboam. What if you have no choice and your life is programmed even from another computer and you're a person, to this one where computers are programming people? It's like, where does this all go? What is the story that you're trying to tell here if you just bring it down to it's all up to Dolores to figure it out? I mean, yeah, I think you need to have Frankie and the Outliers out there. You need to have, that's why I like Caleb as a bridge between host and human, to show that there could be some interaction, some sort of future. Now it's like, nope, they're all dead. It's up to one person in that computer there in the dam that will hopefully have enough power.
yeah, I mean, Ramona Floyd says back to the original Westworld, apparently.
Sure, brings
And
it all around.
but here's the thing. This is what bothers me about the ending. It seems like it's just a lame excuse so they could go back to a season one type thing. There's a let's concoct this weird scenario just so we can redo season one. I don't know. Have all the Easter egg and callbacks where people are like, ooh, I remember that character. I remember that train. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they were just, bent the story so they do that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, if they do have a plan to do it, yeah, it's just that it's the number of questions that are sort of left out there. I think that just are left up, and it's not the same as you had at the end of, one, where suddenly Dolores is just killed Robert Ford and is going after the humans. You're like, okay, this is the same story. We're going to sort of twist it up. And then two, it was, we're leaving this world. The end of
Yes.
three was like, well, we freed humanity. Now we're going to try and fight for our future. All of those have a defined ending and
Yes.
transition.
Yes.
And this is like, well, hey, man, stuff. Which,
And I would, yeah, I'll say definitively, make a definitive statement here that I like season three better than season four, mainly because of the ending. Because
yeah.
season three, I thought had a beautiful ending that made sense for the characters, tied everything together, and it had this finality to it while still leaving things open for more stories to be told. Whereas this ending just feels incomplete. It feels like a lot of things don't make sense or don't add up until they explain it in the next season. To me, that's less satisfying.
And part of it maybe is they were squeezing so much because they had the post-war and the 7 years and the takeover, and then Hale's World. I mean, they covered a lot of time and stories and
Yes.
events and tried to squeeze it all within 8 episodes, or really kind of seven, and then a tail episode, whatever this was. Um, it's covering a lot of ground, and that is going to, by necessity, mean that there's things that aren't going to be explained. Um,
Yeah.
you can't just have exposition throughout every episode to explain what everything is. On the other hand, I think they missed some of the larger foundational questions, which would allow them to maybe not have to answer some other stuff. If we had a
Yes.
further understanding of how this world was working and what Hale's plan was, even in just general descriptors, I think we could have filled in a lot of the places, a lot of the things ourselves, and just go, oh, okay, because this is just out in the boonies and there's not as many sound devices. We know that. Okay. Or this is just, whatever. You've got a few outliers. Not every, some hosts are on walkabouts and they're not always tied into this. Okay. I mean, anything like that. And we could have filled in the spots. I think they were focusing so much on some of the mystery. Uh, they didn't give us the information to let us enjoy that mystery.
Indeed. Yeah, I like what Woodrow in the chat says that it doesn't help that Christine was oblivious to the horror she was a part of. She has no agency. That's
Yes.
true. That
Right.
is true. She
That well, see, that's the thing is nothing that she was doing or could do had any effect on anyone else. It was only for her. It's just it's a realization of someone in a box. That's great, but there's a whole other world where we're supposed to deal with things with, and yeah. Well, did we cover everything? Have we confused more? Have we just whined? Because again, a lot of beautiful stuff, a lot of great shots, a lot of good performances. It's just the way it ends. Um,
yeah. Well, I was gonna talk about the fight scene with Clementine because I feel like that was kind of just they was just thrown in there so they could have some action, like the whole Clementine storyline, like
yeah,
her whole well, I'm gonna destroy, kill all the outliers seemed like why like it seemed like it was just there so they could have this cool fight scene that and other than that, just to give so Stubbs can die for no reason,
sure,
and to
sure.
give Frankie something to do because otherwise she didn't really do anything this episode. I don't know. It's just it felt kind of empty to me.
Yeah, I think ultimately, yeah, I don't think any of these story wrap ups were very satisfying, and it left questions like, yeah, why did any of this even happen? If Dad's going to stay back and he's only temporary, Bernard knows this, and yeah, you stop Clementine from killing outliers, but there's other hosts out there. I don't know. I loved Clementine out on her own in the beginning of the season. I got the twist that once William came, it perverted her programming and made her kind of something else,
Yeah.
or just more akin to that viewpoint. But yeah, having at the end of like, good, I will go kill them all. We can't live together, but then I will enjoy my village life. Was just yeah, it did. It seemed like, well, we got to wrap this up. It's like, did you? Was there anyone calling for the Clementine character wrap up? I don't know. That's
Hmm.
me. I love the character and I love the actress. I just
All right.
don't like where they
Yes. I gotta mention what Ramona Floyd in the chat says. What I wanted was Maeve to just take out the tower. Like, what was the purpose of the cat fight? Yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted this badass scene with Maeve coming in, destroying the tower, defeating Hale. But instead, like, they're like, oh, none of that matters. It's all part of Bernard's master plan to restart a digital war with Dolores. Like, to me, that's just less interesting. It doesn't
yeah.
really make any sense.
And how is that better than just Bernard and Maeve jumping into the Sublime themselves and sealing it off to the rest? What is the difference?
Well, I guess Dolores isn't there, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just we gotta have Superman come in and clean up everything. And look, I love Superman as a character. I'm just saying is it's one of those things where it does. It makes so much of the rest of the season and every character's motivation and journey pointless. Have you ever seen The Core? Not a great movie about the Earth core is messed up, so they have to send a team down in a super lava ship to go and drop some nukes and restart it. Not necessarily a great movie.
Yeah.
Um, but there is this one character who is basically editing or narrating his life story into his little thing like all the time of what's going on and so on. It's a very arrogant character moment. He's the one that sacrifices himself to kill the newt. I'm sorry, spoiler alert for everyone for a 20-year-old movie.
That's not good.
But at the end, as he's waiting for the nuke to go off, he's narrating into his little storyline deep beneath the core, waiting for the timer to. And at the last moment, he realizes the utter futility of what he's doing. And he ends his life with a big laugh at his own ridiculousness, which I thought was a great character bit. But it feels kind of like that. It's like you're narrating while you're waiting for the nuke to go off. The tape's not going to survive. You're not going to survive. Nothing that happens at this point is going to make a difference in the actual future. But if it makes you feel good, man, you be you. All right. Well, folks, I think we've covered everything. I think we've, yes, Tingerbee, well, in 2 years we can rehash this. Yeah, exactly. I now expect Men in HIB to enter the Sublime since he's now a host and can see the entrance. Oh, that might be interesting. Host in black going into the Sublime. No, the Pearl got all crushed.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, none of them are going in. So that's it, folks. That's Westworld season 4. Mostly a good season. I think it kind of dropped off here at the end. It would be great if they do renew this for a season 5 and we do get to see the tale. And if they explain it all, I'm so happy to eat crow. I am the happiest person to eat crow ever. I have no problem being wrong.
I love being proved wrong when I think the show's not going to be good. Like, that's the best thing ever.
Because sometimes we give a lot of shows a lot of credit, and then you think 5 minutes later and go, wait a minute, none of that actually makes sense, Mr. Robot. Please don't Mr. Robot me. Please don't Mr. Robot me. That's all I'm asking.
Well, just as long as they don't Game of Thrones season 8 of the
Yeah, I know. I made my Game of Thrones reference in my little Twitter notification here. So yeah, I don't want them to do this. I would love for them to be renewed and to be able to finish the story and for me to be proven wrong. Hopefully they will, but honestly, we can't tell. Big shakeup at HBO right now. A lot of stuff being canceled. They're holding on some of their DC shows. Most of the stuff is leaving. With their panache programming like this, I don't know if Westworld has the numbers or interest by upper management to hold on. So,
well, one last thing I want to say is that I've said in like previous reviews and I think in previous discussions that a lot of what I think about the season is going to depend on how they ended it, and how they ended it actually makes me think less of the season.
I totally understand. So yeah, hopefully in 2 years when the next season comes in, we'll be proven wrong and this will all be great. If this is the end of the show, season 3 had a better ending and we'll just think of 4 as like some sort of a fever dream or something. And we can all live with ourselves. It'll be great. Marc, thank you so much for coming back and finish this final review. I appreciate having a chance to talk with you about this.
Well, thanks for waiting for me. Computer issues.
And if you like this little matchup, folks, you're going to be seeing it for a long time coming, because starting on Thursday nights, back to a regular time slot, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, we will be talking She-Hulk. It'll be Marc. It'll be me. It may be someone else that night, too. We don't know. Might search for guests throughout the week, but you'll definitely have these two talking She-Hulk every Thursday night for the run of their show, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on D's Reviews. And if you want to go check out Enchantment of Eternity starting on Mondays, you're going to be finding some House of the Dragon reviews led by this guy right here, and sometimes having this guy right here. So yeah, what's your expectations for House of the Dragon there, Marc?
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I like that George R. R. Martin was like this one and was more involved, and has absolutely nothing to do with season 8 of Game of Thrones, and it has nothing to do with Dan and Dave are not involved in any way, shape, or form. So hopefully this will be good.
Excellent. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of Marc and D mashups for the next 2 months or so. Thursday nights right here at 6 o'clock for She-Hulk. And then over on Enchantment of Eternity on Monday nights for House of the Dragon. So come check that out. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We just had a fabulous discussion. Ramona Floyd, Richard Bloom, Stinger Bee Company, fangirling and loving it. Woodrow, Catmandu. We had some other people here. I got to stroll up. I want to thank you all because you're all awesome. Well, if I missed you, then I'm terribly sorry, but you're awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. Thank you so much for joining us in the archives. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all those things. YouTube might notify you when there's new videos or not. They don't accept my
Um,
at the moment.
I got one thing I want to shout out.
Oh yeah.
In just a half an hour, I will be doing another live stream back to back tonight. This is on my channel. My sister Alyssa and I are just going to do a casual Q&A. We're just sitting talking in the chat. So if you want to come join in the chat, ask questions, just lean back and chat movies and stuff with us. That's going to be in a half hour.
That's awesome, folks. Time to maybe grab a bite, hit the loo, and then come right back over to Enchantment Eternity and join up Mark and Alyssa. I'm going to say goodnight. I will see you guys hopefully on Thursday. Thanks for joining us for all of these Westworld reviews, and we'll catch you all next time. Take it easy and